G'day fellas, and welcome to a casted game, sporting in on the east side of the hideout. Playing as the Chinese in the colored teal, we've got Crackety here. And on the west side of the hideout, playing as the Ottomans, we've got Red, who I'm just going to be calling Red. This player, for anybody wondering, is pretty good. Currently sitting rank 20 on the ladder. Now Crackety, I think, sitting at about rank 40 on the ladder, so still pretty close, but at the same time, you got to remember, once you start getting up to that top side of the ladder, once you really start getting to the pointy end, the difference between rank 20 and rank 40 is actually pretty big. Don't underestimate it, right? Like, if you were to take Beastie and put him against Crackety, I've got a feeling Beastie would probably win, 9 times out of 10. And they're still so close in ELO. When it comes to this distance, I feel like maybe if you took Crackety and put him 10 times up against Red right now, he might win like 2 or 3 times out of the 10. So I think coming into this game, it's already pretty stacked against Crackety. But fortunately, he's got good things going for him. Most importantly, he's playing the Chinese into the Ottomans, which is a really, really solid matchup for China. Part of the reason why this matchup is crazy good for China is because the Ottomans, they're a little bit late with their attacks normally. Sure, they can come in. They can send in a single spearman, walk him over towards the enemy base and start harassing gold or stone. But it's not a huge threat. It's not a massive problem. What's a problem is when your enemy starts attacking you and says, hey, you need to make units against me. And that, fortunately, doesn't happen for the Ottomans for at least 7 minutes, 8 minutes normally is when you see those rough times come through. So I posit that as China, you can be very happy with this matchup just simply because you can almost always get away with a 2 town center Song Dynasty. You can do it pretty darn quickly as well. So I'm looking forward to see what Crackety does, but we've already got a little bit of an interesting shift. He's actually going into survival techniques, and he's also doing this without actually, having the Imperial Academy up, which is, I guess, a little bit strange, but obviously a Dark Age survival techniques is somewhat new. It's something that used to happen quite a bit whenever we watched French play. You'd see them on Altai, they'd go for an early mill, and as a result, they'd look to get that fast survival techniques, but not for China. You don't really see it a whole lot for China. It's quite expensive, right? You're talking about, what, 50 wood, 75 gold? That's a fair amount of resources, but obviously that does get rebated. And that's one thing to note, is that there's always going to be that rebate, but we do see Crackety moving over 5 villages on the gold, so a bit of an interesting build order that he's got here, but I do suspect he might actually hit a pretty decent Song Dynasty timing here with this. It's obviously going to be delayed because of the technology, but he does at least get some money back from it. So that's important to note. I guess realistically, if he's looking just to play one base and go for a Song Dynasty, this could actually be really strong in the long run because he's able to take advantage of the deer, look to try and get up those landmarks as quickly as possible, and it means he can actually have less villagers on food, which means more villagers doing things elsewhere. Maybe chopping, gathering resources, or building landmarks. But we do see the first of the landmarks coming down. It's going to be the Barbican. Now we take a look. Why is it going to be the Barbican? It's going to be the Barbican because of this bad boy right here, the Spearman. And so he's not going to be able to deny the Barbican. We can see the town center here for Crackety. The radius of the town center will cover the villagers making the Barbican. So he's just being annoyed at the moment, I think would be the best way to say it. And beautiful little trap coming in from Crackety. Another villager going to be coming out here, joining the fight. Looks like he doesn't get the perfect surround, though. It can be hard trying to get that perfect surround. We're going to continue rallying out the villagers. And with this Barbican, he secures up a guaranteed stone, a guaranteed gold. And basically 100% enables himself to move into a 2TC Song Dynasty without too many hassles. And you can see there's a very small amount of damage being done here. But nice little job already by Crackety to get the health of that Spearman down so low. He's got to be careful because the one villager he's got on this end is the low health one. You can see him fighting off right now, and beautiful micro coming in right now from Red. Oh, you just love it. You love it, but unfortunately, you don't love it enough. But take a look at this. We've got the next Spearman moving in, but it's going to be too late. The Barbican coming up. Nice little timing that he's got here on this Barbican as well. 4-minute 26. He's going to be a bit late on the age up. We can see right now he's only just getting that 200 gold. Rather, a bit late on the Song Dynasty, I should say, but we do see the Imperial Academy coming down now. Good spot he's actually got for it here. So I'll expect him to be digging well and truly into this this wood line over here. Works twofold, obviously. It's advantageous because that way your wood cutting is all being doubled up with the tax that you're getting, and also you're opening up more space to put down buildings for the Imperial Academy. So I wouldn't be surprised if he looks to put the lumber camp right here, and then he can just kind of work in this pattern around. He's got great coverage, actually.
Now, normally we would see the Rus on this map, but players have opted not to go for the Rus here. Now, there might have been like a gentleman's agreement that we don't play the Rus on this map, or I can't imagine that players have worked out how to beat the Rus yet, or that it's been solved. I still think Rus is absolutely overpowered on this map. I'd actually have to double check the numbers. I often do go in and you know, double check the numbers and just see what the win rates are, but I haven't checked the Rus in quite a while. Now, when it comes to timings here for the Ottomans, I think playing the Ottomans, you've got to kind of know. Interesting landmark positioning, by the way. You've got to know. Wait, where are all of his deer? Did his deer patch not spawn? Oh no, okay. His deer are around this landmark. Okay, there we go. Yeah, you can see 6. They're so well hidden. You got to wonder, you know, sometimes where are they? Where are those deer? 7 deer. There we go. All still around that landmark. So beautiful positioning there from that landmark. Bit of a late age up though. 6 minutes is not normal at all. Take a look at what we've got here. We've got at least 2 town centers going to come up. There's the first one coming down. Looks like he's just going to be spamming away. 15 villagers on this one. He's working overtime to get this one up. Second town center yet to come up for Crackety. Only moving 9 villagers over to gold now, so quite a late second TC. But obviously the damage that he experienced early on from that little shenanigan that was happening is part of the reason why he is delayed at the moment. Also, not the most optimal opening here for him, going Barbican first. You always feel a little bit sad when you have to open Barbican first, but it is kind of necessary in some matchups, and this is definitely one of them. But we can see third TC going to be the way that Ottomans plays this, and I think this is the smart move, right? Like, you can't play standard Ottomans into China. It's just a no-no. You know, often we talk about that Ottoman strategy, you know, the playing in the Dark Age, and getting your military school then in the feudal age, you know, heavy focus on making archer balls, that sort of thing. I just don't think it's going to work against China, right? The Chukanu's just too strong. Even if you get the ranged armor from the meta, it's just, you trade well, but your win condition is just falling away from you, right? Because the China 2 TC Song survives, and that's the main difference here. So Crackety's going to be in a pretty solid spot, and we do see him dropping a second TC, but look at this. I think we might even have a third TC on the cards for him. It's likely that what he's done is actually gone past the stone and checked it on the way that he was coming through and gone, okay, you've collected more than enough stone here for a second town center. So I reckon you might even be going for a third TC. And he's on the money, 100% on the money. We can see right now the wood, not the highest, but you're not gathering that much stone as the Ottomans unless you're thinking about going for a second TC. So Crackety going to be one-upping him and saying, well, mate, you go for your 3 TCs over there. I'll go for 3 over here. And that'll be with Song Dynasty. So remember, it's the equivalent, the 3 town centers for China with Song Dynasty is 4.5 town centers. It's a huge difference. Crackety got a couple deer left to clean up. I'd love to see him go for professional scouts on a map like this as well. There's so many deer packs that you can take advantage of, and the sooner you bring these deer in, keep in mind, you can keep them all on this 1 mil. And as long as you're empowering the mill or supervising the mill, you're gonna be doing well. But now we do see the red gets vision on that stone. And he should know, okay, China's gone for 3 town centers. What does that tell me? Well, that tells me he's going to be investing a lot of resources right now into his boom. He's, of course, probably going to be thinking about Castle Age, but there's no guarantee. And when we take a look at Crackety, he doesn't have a lot of information about what his enemy is doing. For all intents and purposes, his enemy right now could be looking to gear up towards a feudal age attack. He could be sitting outside the line of sight right now, making battering rams. But he's not. He's a smart player. And typically most smart players are greedy players. That's normally the best way that you can play when it comes to Age of Empires. Being greedy as possible. Greedy as you can get away with is typically the best way for you to maximize your chance of winning. But we start to see upgrades coming through. Horticulture through for both of these players now. And a beautiful mill position that Crackety's got. Collecting berries, deer, sheep all underneath it. And now Spearman going to be moving in underneath the town center. Should get some decent shots here off on the scout. Let's see if he's actually able to take it. Oh, great hold position there. You see how he held position right at the end? He's got it on stand ground, because if he doesn't hold ground, that last arrow will bring all of these units back in underneath the town center. So, yeah, very smart use of hold position there. I have made that mistake many a time, and then you go away, and you're like, yeah, I'm fine, and then you come back in, and all your units are dead, and you're like, what the hell? I told them all to move away, and you go watch the replay, and that explains it all for you. Nice little micro coming in, the Spahi. You can see him just trying to bait it away, right? He's not actually looking to hit the villagers. He's just intentionally, because he knows if he goes under the town center, he's just going to lose the Spahi straight away. So where does Crackety go from here? Stacking up a lot of gold. More than 800 gold, so he can look for full upgrades. Specialized pick, double broadaxe, maybe even forestry. Honestly, at this point, you got so many. But he jumps inside the town center.
And keep in mind, all these units have just been free at this point, so all of this harassment that's coming in to the Ottoman player is literally... It means nothing for them. They haven't had to do anything extra. They're just doing what they normally do. Speaking of doing what they normally do, we now see the meta coming out. Now, it looks like this meta might have actually been made from the military school. Yeah, it is indeed made from the military school. We've also got some walls coming up on the south side. Village going to get dropped down, so just in case that gold does get challenged. But he is looking through for a castle age at the moment, so this is quite greedy from Crackety. But at the same time, I think this is probably the right choice. Personally, the way I feel about going for like 3 town center Song Dynasty is the only way you die to 3 town center Song Dynasty is to an early attack where the enemy gets a lot of an advantage, right? Like if you're on 3 TC Song and it goes late, you should be okay in most games. The problem is if your enemy gets an early advantage. Maybe they kill a TC. Maybe they kill like 20, 30 villagers. Because looking at the villager count already, we're at the 11-minute mark. 74 vills are out. So he's going absolutely ham. Clock tower going to come up. Double stable. We can see he's making scouts. He's got that, or at least he had. I'm not sure if he still does. Yeah, he has professional scouts completed. So he's going to be moving into professional scouts. So definitely the right choice from Crackety. I do like this play on this map. It makes sense. It just feels right going for professional scouts here. So I'd love to see 7 scouts out from him and 2, 4, 6. That'll do. That's a good start for scouts. Can always look to supervise these out as well. Get them out nice and quick. And it looks like he might be looking to do that. Nope, just going to be picking up some gold, picking up some tax. MIA now coming up over on the west side of the map, and this is the timing that I was a little bit scared of for Crackety, because you got 3 TCs for our Ottoman player Red, and he's pumping out 3 villagers every 20 seconds. But Crackety's going to keep up with 3 villagers every 13 seconds, so he's spending a lot more food than what his enemy is, and that enemy is not only spending less food on villagers, but they're also spending less food or less resources on units. Getting a lot of free stuff here. MIA. Double military school. Remember, there's going to be a 3rd military school coming in shortly, if there's not already. Not for the moment. Be a 3rd one, and then a 4th one placed down, because once military campus comes through, he's going to be in a great spot. So we're right on board with Crackety and see how he does. As he begins taking more stone. No, that's not stone. In fact, no, it is stone. Never mind. He's looking to take more stone here. Nice little jump scouting. So might be looking for some stone walls. Interestingly, does stone wall, or does a wall in the trading post, which is pretty important. And relics getting picked up. Look at that. He's actually picked up the early imams. I didn't realize. I do like this play though. This is something I'm a big fan of. Denying away relics. You don't actually have to do too much to do it either. Military school coming down. That's the 3rd one. Doesn't look like he's gone into military campus just yet. Don't have to invest in the imams. Also don't have to actually you don't have to make them, right? And then you don't have to walk them out. So you get so many bonuses by doing this. This is like the classic play that Delhi, the Holy Roman Empire, love to do. So I do genuinely think this is a good strategy. It will probably become meta. I wouldn't be surprised to see it become meta, honestly. But it looks like we might have a bit of trouble in paradise. Running out of food. He's got to get these deer carcasses back as quickly as he can. And you can see the timing on this. Just immaculate timing from Crackety here. And that's Crackety here, not me saying from Crackety, comma here. That's from Crackety here. But he does put them down. And now a lot of vills moving out. 31 vills. How many? Oh, gosh, look at the tax he's got there. 739 tax. It's gonna take a while to get all that tax. Blacksmith coming down as well. He's trying to cram as much as he can into the base. So now that the unit mass begins building, we'll ride on board with Red and see how he's doing. Triple military campus for the moment. 4th point now coming in. Did I say military campus? I meant military school. It could be military campus, though, that he looks for his next point. Have to wait and see. It is going to be military campus that he goes into. So that 4th military school now coming down for him. Great little spot. And I love the way that he's got these tucked away in the back of his base, right? These are the expensive production buildings. You don't want to be losing these. Looks like Aspahi going to get surrounded. A couple of Chukunu out as well. Looks like veterans he's come through. You have to pick up +1 or +2. I like the fact that the villagers are out here. He's got villagers all over this map. Remember, he's got complete coverage over on that south side. Now inside the base of Crackety. He's going to be preparing for this inevitable attack. Against the Ottomans, the best composition, I mean, let's think about it, right? What do you normally see out of the Ottomans? It's typically like men-at-arms, crossbows are very common. So I'd almost be tempted to say maybe men-at-arms, or rather, maybe crossbows and knights might be a decent combination here for Krakeny. And he's going into Chokunu quite heavily, and I've got to say, I don't like this. I don't like going mass Chokunu, but it's actually going to work quite well against what his enemy's going for, which is mass spearman and crossbow. So Chokunu going to be wonderful as long as he's got those upgrades coming through. We do see +1 coming in now. +2 going to be on the way, and look at the resources stacking up for Krakeny at the moment. So quite a passive game so far. We're at the 15-minute mark, 133 villagers for Krakeny. He's still producing villagers on overtime. Overtime? I don't know if that's overcharge, maybe might be a better way to say it. He's producing a lot of villagers. And also letting his enemy pick up the relics. But you can see the consequence of his enemy going for 3 TCs is he's not that far behind, right? You look at 40 vills and you think that's a massive difference here. And sure, it's a difference for the moment, but it doesn't last forever. He's firing off towards the front. Not a lot of units to tank up here. Does have a couple spearmen out here. Looking to try and fire down and hits a lot of the spears. Beautiful damage coming out. Huge amount of losses. But at the end of the day, I mean, you just don't need to fight this as the Ottomans. There's no real way that you're going to be able to push that, take that down. And so he does the right thing. He falls back. We see that the metas, they're all in formation with the units, but he doesn't actually have the upgrade for them just yet. Looks like a scout's gotten through. A little bit of a chop through happening over in on this this south side of the map. So the scout gets through. He's going to be able to find out exactly what's going on. He'll see the 3rd town center. That'll give him confirmation of the economy, of roughly how far he's ahead. And now see Krakeny adding in the beautiful granaries right there. Look at that. Lovely farms, and you can see 36 farms going down. Look at the production. This is a man who knows how to spend wood. And it's one of the things I often harp on when I'm doing my coaching over on Patreon is, you know, spending the resources that you've got here. It's a little bit harder to document how many resources you've got when you're playing, when you've got the view here. We'll switch it over now to income per minute so we can get a better idea. But my main concern right now for Krakeny is just his military is lacking, right? He's got a lot of production that's going down, but there is a very clear lack of a transition, right? Where are his villagers working on food? This is it. He's only got a handful of villagers, 14, 2 handfuls, 3 handfuls maybe. And so there is a potential right now for him to lose a lot of this force. And if he loses this, very quickly his enemy's going to be able to push up. And we do see that happening now. Mangonel going to fire. Hit a great shot. He's going to have to fall back. Nessabe still firing off. Beautiful splits coming in from the enemy here. Get off my screen captured, Sacred Site. And scouts dropping their deer carcasses and then just getting away from the scene. But now still popping out Chukunu. They have been upgraded to elite. So a little bit stronger, a little bit better, but the main issue he's going to have, he needs a keep right now, honestly. Just drop a keep right here. Doesn't have the resources for it. The consequence of going to Imperial, maybe a little bit too early here, is he's going to be in a real tough spot. And look at all the villagers over on wood. So many villagers here. How many vills is that? Yeah, 88 vills on wood. It kind of feels like that might be enough. So this is the number one thing that I am telling people when they're playing China, is you can't let your farm transition be like this. You can't, you've got to add them in over time, right? You can't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to make farms, because look at what's happened to Krakeny. 400, 500 food a minute now coming in, and he's getting pushed by an enemy who's got a much greater force than him. He's got all this production facility, but no way to produce from it. He needs to buy resources, but then he doesn't have access to, or doesn't have a whole lot of gold. He's only got 600 gold in the bank. He had 4,000 wood a minute, but that's not going to help him. Needs another keep down here, at least something to try and stop his enemy, because his enemy's going to be able to push, take out all of this. We can see elite upgrades not through yet. Remember, the key, the reason why we want to go to Imperial is to pick up those elite upgrades, pick up those +3s for our Chukunu. That's going to help a whole lot. But Krakeny at this point, definitely in a bit of a tough position, only getting wheelbarrow through now. We can see that. Geez, that doesn't feel the best, does it? It's going to be over here, picking up horticulture. That's fine. But the Mangonel numbers, look at the Springald numbers, the siege superiority coming in. The only way Krakeny can fight against this, he's got a lot of Chukunu out right now. The main thing for him needs to be to get a siege workshop down. He also needs to make sure that with the siege workshop, he's supervising it, he gets roller shutter triggers, and he gets out some Springalds. That's going to be really key in defending this. But now, over on the opponent's side, we do see what I believe to be probably the #1 landmark you'll see in the late game for the Ottomans. I don't think you're going to see Istanbul Observatory coming out ever again. I think it's almost always going to be Seagate Castle. Trade is changing the way people are playing the late games, and it's also shifting the power of civilizations in the late game, and the Seagate Castle is a big part of that. It basically means that trade becomes, instead of just like, oh, I've run out of gold, now it's time to start trading, it's more like, well, you know, it's kind of late in the game, and I could use the extra gold, let's start trading. And that's exactly what we've got set up already. And we can see over here, a little bit of a deny on the stone wall attempt on the south side. More units continuing to push in. The main issue is going to have a mangonels. Remember, the mangonel number 1 goes down. It looks like the Springles are out. He's also picked up the roller shutter triggers. Very well done from Crackety, and that should be able to hold off for the moment until roller shutter triggers comes through for his opponent. He can't really fight against roller shutter triggers with greased axles. They're just too fast. They're always going to be able to kite, and you can see the way that he's moving up here, making sure that he's got that prime position. Chukunu on the backside should be fine. Men-at-Arms is going to have trouble with him as long as he hasn't picked up his extra upgrades yet. We still don't see any incendiary arrows. The Springald trying to trade out with the enemy Springald's not going to have a whole lot of luck. Second Springald coming out. They're not clockwork, so they're always going to be a little bit harder to deal with. You can see that the Chukunu trying to fire. He finally gets +3 in. It's going to help him out with 1 extra damage, which against the breakpoints of things like Men-at-Arms is really good. It's an extra 50% damage. So that's exactly what he wants. Now he needs to think about incendiary arrows, but honestly, I would move away from the Chukunu. The main issue you're going to have in the late game as China is this right here. 170 villages for Crackety here. He's got 30 military population space. That's all he can use. 30 pop, 27 pop. He's got too many villages. And what unit are you making? You're making the cheapest unit you can make. This unit is, where is it? There it is. It costs 80 resources. That is it. It's as cheap as an archer, as cheap as a spearman. It is the cheapest unit. You want to be using your pop space efficiently as China in the late game. You got all these resources and you got no population for it. So one of the really important things as China that I like to harp on once you come to the late game, always make sure that you're using pop efficient units. Make sure you've got those knights out, those hand cannoneers. If you can afford it, you need to have them out there because you've got so many villages. You've just got to make sure that you're using that rest of the space that you've got efficiently. Mangonel shot comes in, it's big, but fortunately the heal's going to come in. At the same time, down towards the south, the keep still just keeping on. Incendiary arrows finally coming through for Crackety. This is an important upgrade. Really something that you need to focus if you're going to be playing Chukunu. And he's up to 178 villages. How many villages would you like? And Crackety here just simply responds, yes. That is his response. But now incendiary arrows coming through. This is where the Chukunu reaches its power spike. So if you've ever been looking for a time to delete 50 villages and start supervising all of your archery ranges, now is the time, Crackety. Push your enemy with your Chukunu. This is your win condition, but you've got to remember those mangonels. That's what makes it so scary. So you really got to maintain a heavy Springald mass. Got to be pumping out Springalds non-stop towards the front line. Men-at-Arms coming out. Elite Men-at-Arms. Up to 7 armor, but remember the 7 armor, not going to be a matter, not going to be a problem for the 11 attack of the Chukunu, because 11 goes down to 4 attack with that armor, but remember they fire 3 bolts, so it's 12 damage. That's pretty decent. Obviously, nowhere near as much as a crossbow, nowhere near as much as a hand cannoneer, but you got to remember, this unit is cheap. This unit buffs up all the other units when it dies. This unit's got a very high attack speed. It's a crazy unit when you get to the late game. The only problem that you're going to have is the population space. That's the thing that's going to really hurt you here. All right, well, Red looking in an increasingly strong position. My main concern for Crackety in this late game is that he's just got, I mean, look at the resources, right? So many resources in the bank, plenty of farms. Look at this. Like, is this, I feel like this is the #1 mistake that Chinese players at the Conqueror level are making. It's the slow transition into farms. Because the fast transition into farms. It shouldn't be something that happens overnight. It should be a slow build, you know? It should be weeks and weeks and weeks that build towards it, but we still don't have specialized pick for Crackety. You know, it's all these little things that are starting to add up for him, and it's hard, right? You're playing at this level. There's so many things going on in your game. You can't remember everything, but we can see more villages have been deleted. He's going to start adding more units into his composition. It's going to be Palace Guards that he goes into. Definitely a wise choice. Moving into some of those units a bit heavier. We might have a little bit of trouble here. We see the Knights moving in. These bad boys have got 8 armor on them, so only doing 3 damage a pop here. And remember, if the Spahi changes over to range defense, then it's going to reduce that down even further. Springalds might get focused down here. Looking like the first one will go down. The Knights are doing so much damage. And Crackety getting completely annihilated, cleaned up just in the blink of an eye. His mangonels have done huge amounts of work here for Red. And Crackety loses his entire army. The consequence of having too many villages. And now we fall into that position where, sure, the Ottoman late game, it's not that great, but Crackety's made a huge mistake here. The timing from the Ottoman has been immaculate. It's been perfect. And behind this, trade has been added. Look at this, 180 gold coming in, and these guys are fast boys. These are speedy boys. And he's got to keep providing that additional
extra movement speed throughout the whole trade route. He's also got the plus, the extra 10 armor, so if there's any chance that you're trying to raid through, it's going to be hard, right? You're doing 17 damage. They're mitigating so much of your damage. More than 50% of your damage is being mitigated just because of the Seagate Castle. Keep not firing, though. Keep's got to... Okay, there we go. Keep was not firing for a little bit there. More attacks happening down on that south side. Keep moving forward for Crackety, but I feel like he's not focused where he should be. I want to see a Keep down over here. This is the main spot that you got to be worried about. And Crackety never really fortified the front. Palace Guard numbers are starting to increase, so this is looking good for him. +1, still coming in, +2 in now. Janissary's coming out. And this is why I think Ottomans are so powerful in the late game, and one of the reasons why I think they're probably going to start moving towards an S tier. Previously, I thought Ottomans, they're a civilization that kind of, they're quite good late feudal. They're very strong in the Castle Age, and when it comes to the late game, they fall off. I don't think that's the case anymore. The reason why is because of the traders. Have a look at how many traders we've got over here right now for red. 24 traders. It might not seem like a lot, but it is enough to maintain 3k gold a minute. And that 3k gold a minute is 30 Janissaries a minute. It's 30 knights a minute. That's a lot of resources coming in for him right now that Crackety just doesn't have access to because he doesn't have those traders. Remember that those traders are getting buffed up, and now look at the combination coming out for the Ottomans. Janissary Knight. He's got all of this gold coming in, so he can just afford to do this. These units are incredibly gold heavy. The heaviest gold unit that you can make in the Castle Age is the Knight. 100 gold, only 140 food, and he's able to break through. The consequence of Crackety not walling is that very easily the enemy begins working on his villager line. And now look at the difference that we've got. We've got Red, who's actually climbed to 154 villagers. Just when you thought Crackety was doing all right for himself on 182 villagers or something ludicrous like that, Red says, I got you, bro. I got you. Janissaries coming in. Fully upgraded Janissaries, by the way. Chemistry, Janissary attack, elite upgrades have also come in. These guys are pretty buff. Pretty damn buff in the late game. You know, they actually trade efficiently against hand cannoneers for cost. I didn't realize, but for, cost-wise, they do quite well. And speaking of hand cannoneers, they're finally coming out for Crackety. The issue he's going to have is going to be his food economy, though. Food economy going to be hurting right now. Hand cannoneers doing a decent job. Crackety going to be looking to respond with a couple of trebuchets. Double, treb, clockwork, and a normal one. That's all he's going to need to deal with this keep, though. As long as he's able to keep them alive. And look at the units just funneling through. Military schools. He's got knights coming out towards the enemy base. And at the same time, look at all of the production coming out now for Red. So much damn production up here. All of these stables, all of these archery ranges. He continues to funnel in towards the base of Crackety, focusing down those high-ticket items. The counterweight trebuchets, both of them going to be going down here, almost certainly. There's a lot of knights in this base, and indeed he cleans them up. And now Crackety's in a really difficult spot. There's no single choke point that he's got to deal with this. And at the same time, food. He's starting to bleed. 130 population against the 200 pop. I think this might be over. I think this might be a good game. How does Crackety hold from this position? Because once that keep goes down, which it's about to, then all of these farms become exposed. There's no real squeeze happening on the other side. For the most part, everything is fine. A couple of outposts going up in the center. I think Red just wants to be a bit cautious of any potential run-through. Crackety's still picking up upgrades behind this. He doesn't want to give up just yet. Precision crossbreeding coming in for him. But still trying to hold the front. I feel like at this point he needs to be focusing on units that are heavier towards the food, so the hand cannoneer is the right choice. Maybe even could look towards Chukanu again to help deal with the Janissaries, but he's just going to tap out. Crackety losing this game red, demonstrating that the Ottomans may indeed be the new S-tier late-game civilization. A single landmark is actually changing the way this game is played. Fellas, check out Crackety. I'll leave a link in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.